So here's the first chapter of the grammar book by Arlene Miller. So in this chapter, we are going to go over the parts of speech. There are 8 parts of speech: noun, pronoun, verb, adjective and articles, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. And we are going to go over all 8 parts of speech in this video, in this chapter. First part of speech is a noun. A noun is a person, place, thing, idea, or emotion. Here are some nouns: sun, girl, dog, happiness, California, doctor, book, rain, family, religion, Susie, and seashore. The above all are all people, places, things, ideas, or emotions. People: Susie, girl, doctor, family. Places: California, seashore. Things: dog, book, sun, rain. Ideas or emotions: happiness or religion. You can see if something is a noun. Usually if you can put the words a, and, the, or my before them, then you know it's a noun. So for instance, the sun, a girl, a boy, a dog, a religion, my happiness. This doesn't work well with words that start with capital letters, such as California or Susie. However, most words that start with capital letters are nouns anyway. So recognizing nouns. Peter gave his cake to his younger brother. So in this case, Peter is a noun. So nouns are used as subjects and objects in a sentence. So here, Peter is a subject, it's a noun. Gave his cake, also it's also a noun, object. So then here you have I is the subject. And then here, still a subject is a noun. So I is a noun, actually it's a pronoun. And then it's a subject. And here, stamps is a noun because person, place, or thing is a noun. And nouns are used as subjects or objects. There are 5 types of nouns. Common nouns are regular nouns that do not start with capital letters, such as happiness, boy, desk, and city. Proper nouns are nouns that start with capital letters. They are specific people, places, things, or ideas, such as Florida, Buddhism, Joe, and Thanksgiving. Concrete nouns are nouns that represent things you can hear, taste, or smell, like grass, paper, perfume, or you can feel it, Susie and Golden Gate Bridge. Abstract nouns represent ideas, and you cannot perceive them with your senses. Religion, happiness, anger, Buddhism are all abstract nouns. Collective nouns are nouns that represent a group of things: family, group, orchestra, audience, flock, bunch, and herd. But these nouns, although it looks plural, are not plural and always takes a singular verb when you have subject-verb agreement. Most nouns can be counted: girls, pencils, and stars. But some non-count nouns cannot be counted, such as salt, wisdom, sand, and beauty. You can't make these plural. So recognizing different kinds of nouns. And so here, pronouns. Pronouns take the place of nouns. For example, compare these 2 sentences. Mary baked Mary's famous lasagna for dinner. Mary baked her famous lasagna for dinner. Her is a pronoun. It is used in the second sentence to take the place of Mary, so we don't have to repeat Mary all the time. Some common pronouns: I, you, he, she, them, they, we, us, him, her, and it. An antecedent is the word the pronoun is standing in for. In the sentence above, Mary is the antecedent of her. An antecedent can also be a pronoun. Pronouns can stand in for other pronouns, as in the following sentence. He showed the manager his report. His and he are the same person. He, that is this he, is the antecedent. And so here, he showed the manager her report. Obviously, he is showing the manager the report of someone else's report, her report, not his own. So sometimes the antecedent, so here we would probably find the antecedent in the previous sentences if we had them. However, we can tell that he is not the antecedent for her because they don't agree in gender. Pronouns must agree in gender and number with their antecedents. That's part of subject-verb agreement. Make sure your antecedents are clear so that you do not confuse the reader. They should be able to tell who is who. Here is an example of an unclear antecedent. Mary and Jenny went to visit her mother. Okay, is it Mary's mother or Jenny's mother? So here you have an example of an unclear antecedent. Types of pronouns. Personal pronouns are the most commonly used pronouns. First person, I, me, my, mine, we, us, our, ours. Second person pronoun, you, yours. Third person pronoun, he, him, his, her, she, her, it, is, they, them, their, theirs. When we write our academic essays, we want to avoid using first person pronouns. We also want to avoid using second person pronouns because they are too conversational. We want to focus on using third person pronouns because that is more professional. And so personal pronouns are like, well, these are the personal pronouns. I, me, he, him, her, that sort of thing. A demonstrative pronoun is when you want to point things out. So there are only 4 of them. This, that, these, those. So when you use a demonstrative pronoun, which is another kind of pronoun, you're demonstrating to the reader where something is. So if you say this book, that's the book that's closest to you, and it's one book. This is my new CD. Once again, make sure your reader knows what this refers to. I want those. So then those means that is plural. If you say I want those cookies, those becomes an adjective because it is describing cookies. Demonstrative pronouns. So the pencil over there is mine. That is mine. So demonstrative pronouns, this, that, these, those. And so this is for something that's close to you. That is for something that's far away from you. These are once again something close to you, and those is something far away from you. So that's how you would use, so that's when you're demonstrating demonstrative pronouns. Interrogative pronouns are like who, which, whose, whom, and what. Interrogative pronouns are used to ask questions. Who is that man? What is wrong? Relative pronouns. Relative pronouns begin adjective clauses. There are 5 of them. Which, whom, whose, who, that. Notice that they are almost the same as the interrogative pronouns we just learned. However, relative pronouns do not ask a question. They do not appear at the beginning of a sentence. Relative pronouns are other words that for adjective clauses. So I'll show you. You can borrow the book that I just finished. That I just finished is an adjective clause that modifies the word book. That's what makes it an adjective clause. A clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb. So therefore, who, which, whose, which, whom, whose, that always starts an adjective clause. My neighbor, who is a lawyer, just came back from Paris. So who is a lawyer modifies my neighbor. Therefore, this whole clause acts like an adjective modifying a noun, hence the name relative clause or relative pronouns. The pronoun is called is a relative. The who, whose, which, that, those are known as relative pronouns, and then this entire clause is known as an adjective clause or a relative clause. So that's the difference. And there is a difference between who and whom. Who is when you replace something, a person, used as a subject. Whom is used to replace a person as an object. So you're going to learn about that later. So each of the following sentences contains a relative pronoun. I have a dog that barks all the time. So that is a relative pronoun. Do you know who that man in the costume is? Who is an interrogative pronoun. So an interrogative pronoun asks a question, while a relative pronoun is in a clause. It's an adjective clause that modifies dog. Remember that relative pronouns always begins in adjective clause. So I have a dog, and there's a dog that barks all the time, modifies dog. Reflexive pronoun. Reflexive pronoun are personal pronouns with self. Myself, ourself, yourself, himself, yourselves, herself, itself, and themselves. And so I wrote that poem myself. She baked the wedding cake itself. I myself wrote that poem. I saw Jim himself. So when we use a reflexive pronoun, we are using it more like to emphasize a word, or emphasize a certain noun or word in the sentence. I saw Jim himself. So therefore so that emphasizes the importance of Jim. I myself wrote that poem. So that emphasizes that you wrote this poem. So you use reflexive pronouns. One of the ways you use it is that it intensifies a certain noun in the sentence. I fixed the broken fence all by myself. So she gave Jim and myself new books. No, myself has to already have a noun that it is modifying. So she gave Jim and me. So whenever we have we always use an object pronoun after the verb. And also the words his self, their self, and ourselves are not words and do not exist in English. Indefinite pronouns is like everyone, anyone, no one, somebody, anybody, everybody, everything, something, anything, nothing, none, few, many, several, and all. And therefore indefinite pronouns do not refer to a specific noun. So you don't know who that person is. So therefore it's indefinite. Indefinite pronouns are important because you need to know which ones are singular and which ones are plural, so you know which verb form and personal pronoun to use. And so for the most part, everyone, anyone, no one, somebody, everybody, everything, something, anything, nothing, none, few. Yeah, get to right there. Okay, right there. That always is a singular subject, takes a singular verb. Anybody is, or anybody can be not perfect. Anybody can talk off the top of their head. Everybody is a critic. Nobody is perfect. And then when you have many, several, all, and some, these take a plural verb because it's more than one. So you're going to learn more about indefinite pronouns and subject-verb agreement later on. And so indefinite, but for the most part, indefinite pronouns take singular verbs most of the time, except for many and some. And do not confuse pronouns with proper nouns. Proper nouns begin with capital letters and are nouns. Okay, so pronouns and proper nouns. Proper nouns, any kind of title or name, nationality, somebody famous. Pronouns simply replace. Replace the noun in the sentence. So verbs. You have many kinds of verbs. Action verbs. Action verbs is what you do. Jump, run, bake, study, read, swim, and walk are all examples of action verbs. Verbs can also indicate mental action, not just physical action, like think, wonder, plan, and consider. The boys hid in the forest. Hid is a verb. I took the math test yesterday. Took is a verb. The hotel provided us with rooms. Provided is a verb, because all of these are, and without all of these are either actions. You either have action verbs or stative verbs. And stative verbs are more like think, wonder, seem. And so without a verb, there is no sentence, because for a simple sentence, you need subject, verb, and object. A linking verb. In addition to action verbs, you have a type of verb called a linking verb. A linking verb ties together the word or words before the verb and the words or words after the verb. A linking verb is like an equal sign in math. The most common linking verb is the verb to be. That verb has many different forms. So is, am, are, will, be, was, has, been, have been are all examples of linking verbs using the verb to be. So here are some examples. And so here you have I am hungry. So hungry describes I. She was a dancer. Dancer describes she. So there are linking verbs other than the forms of the verbs to be. You have taste, appear, look, sound, seem, and feel. And another word for linking verbs are stative verbs. And so these are verbs that link the subject with the adjective. And so this is the only time that the adjective will come after the noun. So here, I am hungry. Hungry is an adjective that modifies I. And normally, the adjective hungry modifies the noun. So this is one of the only times that the adjective can come after the noun. So some other stative verbs and linking, same thing, stative verbs, it means non-action verbs. She felt tired today. He seemed angry. And then here, Mary threw the ball, and then here, threw. That's not a linking verb. That is an action verb. Okay, so you have the cake tasted great. So here, you're the one doing the tasting. And so here, taste is here it says great describes cake. Tasted is a linking verb. The cake is great, makes sense, but the cake didn't do anything. There is no action here. I tasted the cake. Cake does not describe I. Taste is an action verb here. So if the subject did not do the action, then it is not an action verb, it is a linking verb. If the subject does the action of the actual tasting, then it is an action verb. And so you have to understand all the different tenses in English. We have present tense, present progressive, past tense, and future tense. Present tense is something that is happening right now. I talk to the students. I teach grammar. And it's something that happens every day. Present progressive, and it's a closed, it's finished action, and it's a habit, something happening every day, present tense. Present progressive, also happening right now, but the action is still going. A past tense is a closed action that happened yesterday and it's over. Past progressive means it's something that happened yesterday, something that was going on yesterday, and it's not finished, and it was not finished yesterday. I will walk. Future tense is something that's going to happen tomorrow. Future progressive tense is something that's going to happen in the future, but then one future tense will happen before another future tense. So then therefore future progressive means that something that's going to happen continuously in the future. So at 5 o'clock tomorrow, I will be walking to the store. Yesterday, past progressive, I was walking to the store. Right now, I am walking to the store. So future progressive is a progressive, something that's going to keep going on in the future. Whenever you have a perfect tense, you have one thing happening before another. So present progressive is it happened a little bit in the past and it's still continuing. I have talked for about 30 minutes on this lecture, but I'm still talking, okay? So something that began a little in the past is still happening. Right now, I am doing this video. So that's something that's happening right now. And then past perfect is I had walked for an hour by the time I found the library. And so this is something that one past action happened before another past action. Okay, so here you would say, I had brushed my teeth before I went to bed. I had taken off my clothes before I went to the shower yesterday. So past perfect involves two past actions, and one past action is more in the past than the other past action. So for instance, you always take off your clothes before you go into the shower yesterday, right? So that's why you have past perfect, meaning the first past action had taken off my clothes, then the other past before I went into the shower. Future perfect is the same idea. You have one future action before another future action. So tomorrow, I will have taken off my clothes before I will go into the shower. So it's the same thing. It's two actions, one happening before another, and the perfect tense is always the tense that happens first. The progressive tense represent the same time as their matching tenses. And so these are all the different tenses in English. So you can practice this here. Irregular verb forms. Irregular verb forms, when we talk about the past tense, when we have a regular verb, to form a regular verb in the past tense, we use ed, ed, ed. But some irregular verbs, you can't say he thinked about it for a while. You would say he thought about it for a while. So if you cannot use ed for past tense, then that's known as an irregular verb. There's a whole list that you have to memorize of irregular verbs, and there's no rhyme or reason why that is. The cat ate his food. You can't say the cat eated his food. So when we use regular verbs, it's very easy to put all of this into the past tense. Washed, studied, played, graduated, ed, ed, ed. Those are all regular verbs. Voice. Another quality of verbs is voice. You have the passive voice and the active voice. So he drove to the mall. This is an active voice because the subject is doing the action of driving. So somebody is driving. So when the subject is doing the action of driving something, or whatever the action is, that's known as an active voice. When the subject is receiving the action, that's known as he was driven to the mall by his sister. So he's not doing the actual driving. His sister's doing the driving. So therefore, when the subject is receiving the action, that is a passive voice. And another way you could see a passive voice is you have be verb plus a past participle. Okay? So there are two voices, active and passive. In active voice, the subject of the sentence is doing the action. In passive voice, the subject is not doing the action and it's receiving the action. So that's the difference between active and passive voice. Transitive and intransitive. So that means that there are two kinds of verbs. Verbs can be transitive or intransitive. Transitive verbs have a direct object. Intransitive verbs do not have a direct object. And so what is a direct object? A direct object is usually the noun right after the verb. Okay? They played baseball. Played. So if I just say they played what? So therefore, played is a transitive verb because it requires you to put a direct object. They played in the yard. They played what or who? So this is an example of played this is intransitive. Okay, I made a mistake. They played in the yard. Played what or who? The sentence does not tell you. There is no direct object. Therefore, played is intransitive. And so therefore, so transitive and intransitive verbs. I played chess with George. So here you have a direct object. Therefore, this is transitive. She walked to school. So there is no direct object here. So this is an intransitive verb. Jess bought a new suit. So here you have a direct object. So bought is a transitive verb. Did you see the cat jump over the fence? So jump over the fence, there's no direct object here, and therefore this is intransitive. I wrote the monthly report for my company. So wrote is a transitive verb because there is a object after the verb. You could always go to Appendix G for more answers. And I think it goes on to adjectives. Yeah, so adjectives are pretty simple. They're just words that describe, they're nouns that usually come before a noun, and they're used to describe nouns. So adjectives usually come before a noun and describe the nouns. So adjectives are simple. They are used to describe nouns, people, places, things, ideas, and sometimes pronouns. Adjectives can also describe other adjectives. Adjectives tell how many, what, kind, or which ones. Here are some examples of adjectives. So usually adjectives modify a noun. Pretty, 6, blue, handsome, good. These are all examples of adjectives that modify a noun, which is a person, place, or thing. Pretty bird, 6 trees, blue dress, handsome guy, good idea. Here is an example of an adjective that describes a pronoun. He is handsome. And so notice that the structure is a little different here. When describing a pronoun, the adjective is usually after the verb rather than before the pronoun. So notice that when the adjective comes before the verb is always a linking verb. Sometimes, of course, the adjective can come before the pronoun. So usually an adjective is a word that describes a noun. And that's all you have to remember, okay? So here, other types of adjectives. So you have demonstrative adjectives. This is my book. This book is mine. Proper adjectives, like proper nouns, begin with a capital letter. Thanksgiving, dinner, Italian food, Catholic religion. Chinese American girl. So therefore, Chinese American is a proper adjective, and it has to be capitalized. So basically a proper adjective is an adjective that needs to be capitalized because it's just an adjective that needs to be capitalized because it is some kind of someone's nationality, it's someone's name, it's some religion, that sort of thing. Articles. The words a, an, and the are called articles. Sometimes they are thought of as a separate part of speech, but they are really adjectives. And so we use a and an usually when we want to describe one of something. A book, a person, okay? And a is used in front of consonants, and an is used in front of verbs. Some words are used as more than one part of speech, depending on how they are used in a particular sentence. Nouns can often be used as adjectives. So how do we identify adjectives? I had 3 books. 3 is an adjective because it describes how many books. I gave 1 book to my younger brother. Younger describes brother, so it's an adjective. How many? How many books? 1 book. So 1 describes how many. That's also an adjective. So always the adjective modifies the noun. Adverbs. Adverbs are describing words. However, while adjectives describe nouns or pronouns, people and things, adverbs are used to describe verbs as actions. Sometimes adverbs also describe adjectives or other adverbs. And usually when a word ends in ly, that is usually an adverb. Let's see, did that come out? Yeah. So quickly, she ran quickly. Quickly is an adverb that modifies ran. Extremely is an adverb that modifies. So an adverb can also modify an adjective. He is extremely intelligent. So here, extremely modifies the adjective intelligent. He writes really quickly. So really describes quickly, also an adverb. Quickly also describes how he writes. So here, really describes both the verb and the adverb. As we said, not all adverbs end in ly, but whenever you see a word that does end in ly, it's always an adverb. And some words that end in ly, yeah, what a lovely dress. So these are exceptions to the rule. So there are exceptions to the rule. Most words or adjectives that end in ly is an adverb, but there are some exceptions where you have what a lovely dress. He is never lonely. But there are some adverbs that do not end in ly, such as now, then, soon, very, often, and not. I go for a walk in the woods often. And then often modifies go. And that's another thing about adverbs. It can go in any part of the sentence. Your adverb could come at the end of the sentence. I go for a walk in the woods often. Adverbs can go in the middle of the sentence. I often go for a walk in the woods. Or an adverb can come in the beginning of the sentence. Often I go for a walk in the woods. So adverbs are very flexible in that you can place it everywhere. So prepositions. Prepositions indicate time and place. So in the box, with my friends, at school, around the room, between the chairs, by the author. So here it shows place, like where something is. The cat is under the table. So under the table is a prepositional phrase. Every summer is a prepositional phrase. Before you freeze is a prepositional phrase. To the museum is a prepositional phrase because it tells you where something is or what time and place. Around the track 20 times, that is also a prepositional phrase. Conjunctions. Conjunctions join two sentences together, Jack and Jill. So and is a coordinating conjunction that joins either two words together, two verbs together, two phrases together, or two sentences together. And when fanboys puts two sentences together, fanboys is known as a coordinating conjunction. When a coordinating conjunction puts two sentences together, that's known as a compound sentence. So here, and then when you have a compound sentence, both sentences have the same equal significance. Subordinating conjunctions. So while fanboys conjunctions make up compound sentences, sort of like she is small, but he is very strong. Do you want the chicken or the steak? Bobby and Jim are getting married. I like neither liver nor Brussels. I have other plans, so I won't be going with you. You will need to study more, so you will need to study more so that you don't get a bad grade or something like that. So whenever you use fanboys, yet you got a bad grade. And so whenever you use fanboys, so that coordinating conjunctions can combine sentences or words or verbs together. Subordinating conjunctions start a dependent clause. And so a subordinating conjunction and when you have a dependent clause, that is a sentence fragment. And therefore, when you have a dependent clause plus an independent clause, you have a complex sentence. So subordinating conjunctions include, but not limited to, although, since, if, because, until, when, whenever, before. As soon as you use any subordinating conjunction in front of a sentence, then that sentence becomes a dependent clause. So if I simply say, I am small, that's a complete thought. But if I add on the word although, that makes it a subordinating conjunction, a subordinating clause or a dependent clause. Because as soon as you add on the subordinating conjunction although I am small, suddenly it is a sentence fragment. Because I have no money, that becomes a sentence fragment. So when you have the dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence, you need a comma. If the dependent clause is at the end of the sentence, there is no comma. So because I have no money, comma, I cannot go to the movies. I cannot get my license, there's no comma here, until I turn 16. And so so here are some more examples of conjunctions. I packed shoes and socks. So here you have a coordinating conjunction. I packed shoes, socks, and shirts. So another coordinating conjunction, and it puts together a bunch of nouns. And then a coordinating conjunction can also put together two sentences. I sprained my ankle, so I cannot go hiking. I cannot go with you, but my sister can. So these are known as compound sentences. Can you begin a sentence with fanboys? Yes and no, but it's very conversational and I would not recommend it, okay? It's very, very personal. It's not, in other words, in conversational English, you can say, and he went to the store. But in written formal English, like you're going to write for your research paper, you'd want to use transition words like, in addition, he went to the store. Or if you're going to write a cover letter for your resume, you're going to write, in addition. Otherwise, you sound like you're in second grade. Okay, so we want to avoid using fanboys at the beginning of a sentence if you want to sound more professional, to sound older. Interjections. Interjection. This is an easy part of speech. Interjections are words that don't add anything to the sentence. They are usually exclamatory words. Sometimes they are followed by an exclamation point. Other times by a comma. Interjections are usually not used in formal writing, like business letters. So interjections are used usually in conversational English. Wow, what a nice car. Ouch, that really hurts. Well, I think I'm going to go with you. Oh, I'm sorry about that. So interjections are very conversational English that you would not use in your research paper. So using parts of speech. So you have noun, friends and hill, pronoun, my and I, verb, ran, adjective, huge, adverb, stupidly, conjunction, and, preposition, up, interjection, wow. So that's it. That's the chapter 1, and that's it for this video. And so I'm only going to do chapter 1, which is the parts of speech. So now that I've gone over chapter 1, you should be able to do this chapter 1 test like the back of your hand. So let's go over. A noun is a person, place, or thing. A pronoun is a noun that replaces it replaces an antecedent, like he, she, they. A verb can be an action verb. It's what it is. And it can be an action verb, linking verb, stative verb, transitive or intransitive verb. Adjectives. Adjective always modifies a noun. Adverbs usually modifies a verb. Preposition shows time and place. Conjunction connects sentences and words together. Interjection is an exclamatory word like wow used in conversational English. So that is pretty much your parts of speech for chapter 1. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime.